Good afternoon and welcome to the Turn It On session introducing you to becoming a showcase school. Thank you for coming along this afternoon. My name's Martin and I'll be working with you. Feel free to ask any questions at all. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. You can either pop those into the chat or you can unmute your mic and just ask. Please remember, if you do turn your camera on or you open your mic, this will be recorded and then made publicly available. So please bear that in mind if you don't want to appear. We will have other people joining us during the session, so the numbers will grow as we progress through. A few people have contacted me to say that they will be on their way, but just have to get out of school at the end of the day. The Microsoft Showcase School program is something that's evolved over the years, and Turn It On have been involved with for a number of those years, where we have worked really closely with schools. Some of the schools have been working with Turn It On previously, and other schools have been schools that we've just met along the way as part of this process of working with Microsoft, as we are a global training partner of Microsoft. But what we have learned, particularly from the last year, is that the value this program can add to your school, your college, and how it can really be a catalyst for transformation. Not that technology will force you to transform, but actually you can make the most of technology to help you transform. We have just had notification this week from Microsoft that 10 of the schools that we worked with last year are qualified showcase schools this year, and we are really proud of getting those schools through. Some of those will end up going forwards to mentor their own schools that they get as incubator schools, and part of the program is that to become a showcase school, you need to be an incubator program for a period of time. We'll, without any further ado, go through the process. As I've said, feel free to ask any questions you like, and I'll do my best to answer those. So the first thing we're going to look at is something I've already said, but the benefits of being in the Showcase School program, but also how to undertake the application. We won't be going into minute detail, but we're just trying to give you an awareness of what you need to do to become a Showcase School and what's involved. The statistics as of last week were that in the UK we have 57 showcase schools, but it's not a UK scheme from Microsoft. This is very much a global community. And I use the word community quite strongly because before you're a fully fledged showcase school, when you are an incubator, but also afterwards, once you've got that accreditation, it does feel like you become part of a larger global community, and people are really enthusiastic about what they're doing, but also sharing that. And it will be sharing it globally, and sometimes what's happening in one country doesn't always translate 100% to another country, but what you can get are some fantastic threads of ideas, and also just catching up with people that are as enthusiastic about education as you are and how to enrich learning for the students that you're working with. The schools themselves that are in that community are publicly available. There's a directory, and in the coming days that will be updated with this year's qualifications. I'll just pop in the chat the website where you can go. I've dropped it onto the UK page currently, but you can, if you scroll back to the beginning of that presentation, select any country in the world. So if you're not attending this webinar from the UK, you can go and find those schools that are local to you. But as I said, that will update in the next week or so, and Microsoft will then recap exactly how many schools you've got in each region. So once you are a Microsoft Showcase school, that's great, but the getting there is the journey, and the journey is the thing which really shapes what you look like in the end. And many of those experiences and the people that you meet along the way will really enrich what you're doing. So first of all, when you are thinking about becoming a Showcase school and applying to go onto the incubator program, you need to have a commitment to transform, and that commitment to transform should harness technology and the potential it offers you. And that might be not just working with pupils or students, that can be across the whole school. So it might be reducing workloads for staff, it might be improving communication, all the benefits that it can bring will end up being part of your plan. Microsoft has, on the left-hand side where those 4 squares are, something called the Education Transformation Program, or the ETF for short. And the Showcase Schools program heavily borrows from that educational transformation framework. And that framework will come up with you looking at all the different areas of leadership and policy, teaching and learning, and the different environments that you're going to learn and how they're intelligent, and also student and school services. They break down into smaller segments as well, but they will feed into you formulating this plan. Now, you may already have a plan of how you're transforming, and you may have it mapped out for a number of years. Microsoft isn't asking you to forget what you've got. In fact, they want you to bring that along and then use the other resources that you'll be introduced to enrich that further still. To be a showcase school, whether you're an incubator or whether you're a fully fledged school, you really need to have this culture of learning and growth where the staff have an open mindset predominantly, and they're willing to try things, they're willing to share with each other, they're willing to support each other when sometimes things don't go to plan, but learn when it doesn't go to plan and be the better off for it. At the same time, thinking about how technology can offer opportunities for personal learning. And there's lots of different elements of Office 365 can do that, whether it's just using some areas of Microsoft Teams and maybe getting people together as more of a community, or it could go a lot deeper than that, using something like OneNote Class Notebook to share resources from the classroom to get them accessible outside of school to the pupils and the students that you're working with. It also includes 21st century learning design or future ready skills. That's building the transferable skill sets that people will take to become successful adults. So this is very much about you being a showcase school, but it's about building pupils and students with the sets of skills so that they can apply those to different scenarios, whether it's other subjects, whether it's in their life as it currently stands, or whether it's getting a job in the future. Things like problem solving, how to grapple with being successful, and the resilience to stick with something. Just a couple of what will come in future ready skills. And you're probably delivering those anyway. You're just going to link those with the transformation plan, but also with what you're doing in the wider school. To be a showcase school as well, Microsoft want you to make the most of the data you're given. And very often at schools or colleges, we're really good at that. We're being asked all the time, well, how much progress is this particular student making? What do I need to do to support them to get further? Or what do I need to do to make sure that this student's got enough support to get to the next step? Or how are we going to support them pastorally? What do they need emotionally to be mentally strong? But also thinking on the other side, well, we've got all this technology. How much use are we making of it? Is it just small pockets of staff? Does the whole school embrace this? Is there a particular aspect which the whole school is using and other parts that others ignore? So looking at the data at your fingertips in Office 365 and wider school systems such as MIS systems, and just trying to make more of it to then feed back into what should be your focus and your transformation plan. And finally, looking at the impact it has. It's all very well and good doing all these things, but what you want to know is it really making a difference? And one of the aspects of the showcase program is that you regularly take snapshots along your journey to show where you came from and also where you're going to, but also what a difference it's making as you're going through that process. So to bring it into focus then, when you join the Microsoft Showcase program, you will get some support from Microsoft. And if you come to work with Turn It On, you'll also get support from Turn It On because we are somebody who delivers the incubator program. And as I said, we've already got 10 schools this year, qualified Showcase schools by coming along on that journey with us from the incubator program. And Microsoft will give you a certain amount of support that you can go along and you can join sessions, and that will help to guide you. But then additionally, alongside that, it's really beneficial if you can come along and join with a partner, and we form a cohort of like-minded people from schools. They're all trying to achieve the same thing. So you've got a micro community as well as the wider global community. And that really helps because it's a bit like feeling you're part of a class in school, but you're also part of a bigger school. As you start to go along that journey, you will almost certainly get recognition, whether that's sharing at Microsoft Showcase events, which happen throughout the incubator period, or you'll start to see the real impact, because all of a sudden you will have a roadmap with certain dates that things have to happen, and that will feed into your wider school transformation program, and it focuses you, but also makes you think about the impact that you're having by doing that. And as I've said a lot of times already, the community feel here is very strong, whether it's between you and Turn It On, or whether it's between you and your peers that you're working with in this cohort that we'll create, or whether it's part of the wider global community and you're going along to those events, maybe having a chat with somebody in Canada and seeing what they're up to, and then that translating back to what you're doing in the UK if you're joining us from the UK today. So the benefits are expanding on what we've just discussed there. You will end up seeing that it gives you more capacity through the support you're getting for change, because all of a sudden you're not in this alone. You might not be on the leadership team, you might be part of the middle leadership in the school, and you're trying to bring about this change, but all of a sudden this will give you a platform to back this up, but also it will give you the tools to help you bring about that transformation. It will also, in the sessions that we supply alongside the showcase program while you're in the incubator, will expose you to some of those tools. We'll give you a grounding in how they might work best, and you'll be able to then come back and discuss exactly how well it did go, or any frustrations you might have, and we can feed those things back directly back to Microsoft, just like you will get more of an opportunity to speak to Microsoft directly as well. The recognition is quite wide in the fact that once you are qualified, you will get, as the schools that have passed this year, you'll be awarded the certificate. You will be able to use the Microsoft Showcase School logo. The Microsoft Showcase School accreditation, in case you're wondering, lasts for a year, and then you can either reapply. If you're reapplying, you've already done much of the work, so actually the reapplication takes minimal effort. The first year to go from being in an incubator into becoming a fully fledged showcase school normally demands the most effort, input, and focus. When it comes to the impact, you will see it across the school. I have discussed an awful lot about teaching and learning, but it isn't just that. It could be, if you were part of an academy and a trust, it could be that you've improved the strength between the academies in that trust. It might be that you work more strongly and closely with your governors because all of a sudden you've got a better way of working with them. It could be, as we've said, it's more effective and you feel more holistic as a school because you're all doing a similar thing. And it could be as simple as you start to collect data using Microsoft Forms rather than having lots of pieces of paper float around. And the community element, I think we discussed this at length, but it's so many levels and it is very strong. I don't think I've met anybody that's on the Showcase Incubator program who isn't just really enthusiastic and passionate about what they're doing. They want to be there and they want to share that, but they also want to soak it up. They don't want to just talk at people. They want to hear what others are doing. So there's a huge amount of that takes place where people are really sharing all the time in that community. And if you do join in with Microsoft, what they will do is they'll allocate you to a team, and you'll have that team to log into for your meetings, but you'll also have that team to log into to work with partners such as Turn It On. And that's been a real strength of getting to know those people in the schools that I'm working with and the colleges I'm working with, but also them getting to know me. So if they've got a problem, they can ask a question. There's certain expectations around becoming a showcase school, and if we continue on the theme of those four headings, the expectations are that you will have to have some sort of mentoring through the incubator program. Now, that could come from a fully fledged showcase school, or that could come by joining a partner such as Turn It On. It's up to you which route you go. You could have both if you feel that would be beneficial to you. It's also about welcoming and linking with other schools in your local community. So one of the things that Microsoft will ask you to do while you're a showcase incubator, and you probably, some of you will already do this, is link with the schools that are very close to you, whether it's just have one or two cluster meetings. It might be around a particular subject, it might be around a phase of education, but show that you're sharing what you've learned and then offering it to others to see if it's of help or assistance to them. There's also the recognition that you'll be able to speak as we go along at Showcase Incubator events during the time you are an incubator. You'll have a platform to do all of these things. You'll be able to show what you've been doing. You'll be able to show the impact it's having, discuss what you're going to do next. And everybody in the community will be able to see and hear that. You don't have to do this, you can if you want to, but also you'll get feedback on that. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can go along to those sessions and you can listen to what others are doing. And every time I go, I find something new that I haven't heard of somebody doing before. And also it's really beneficial for me to then feed that back into the group that I'm working more closely with. When it comes to the impact you have will start to grow in the way that you have access to others. So one of the things that was really key this year is that people were working on the whole quite effectively within their schools, but all of a sudden started having instant influence on the community of people they were working with in my group, but then started to branch out and get national opportunities. Sometimes Microsoft says, well, would you like to come along to a particular show? Would you like to talk about things on our stand? So all of a sudden you're mingling with people from across the whole of the UK. Or if it's something really unique, they might say, well, would you like a 10-minute session on stage, and you can talk about that and you can present this. So you start to get this exposure that you wouldn't get if you weren't part of the Showcase Schools program as an incubator. And the community is, I can cover that with impact, but the community is really key there, that everybody is looking out for each other and they're supporting each other. But you've also got that direct support from Microsoft, and if you go with a partner such as Turn It On, you've got that support from us as well. So you've got this wraparound support that will help you through that journey, and when you aren't quite sure, you can turn and ask. Now you might be thinking, there's a lot to take in there. What was the educational transformation framework? But the educational transformation framework is brought down into a really comprehensive but straightforward high-level summary thing called the Showcase Schools rubric. What I'll do is I'll drop the Showcase Schools rubric into the chat so you can all go and have a look at that. But it's a set of criteria that you need to demonstrate you have met by the end of your time. If I just pop that in there first of all, and in it goes. This is being recorded, Olivia, no problem at all. So we'll make it available afterwards. The Showcase Schools rubric is something you will come back to continually throughout the time of being an incubator. But when you first start, you will be in the right-hand columns. You'll be in the initiating and developing columns. And there are 5 areas there, not 4, that you will have to demonstrate. And they are around the pillars of the education transformation framework, which we'll come back to on the next slide. But as you go through being an incubator, you will move from initiating and developing to advancing and leading. And one of the things that you need to be able to demonstrate to become a fully fledged Showcase school is that you are working at the advancing level, and you can demonstrate that through evidence that you supply in your final application. And those will be then considered by Microsoft, and you'll either move through to become a fully fledged Showcase school, or they will say, no, look, you are in some areas, but you need to remain on the incubator program. Come back when you've got the other evidence to demonstrate you're working at advancing or leading. And while you're maintaining, if you want to be an ongoing Showcase school and reapply, you need to be mainly aiming for leading and coming away from advancing. So there's that progression within the rubric. I know it's a little bit unusual that you would go from right to left, and I would like Microsoft to swap it around so initiating was on the left, not leading, but it is that way. So you start at initiating, then developing, then advancing, and then leading. So that link can be downloaded. It downloads as a PDF, and if you want to have a closer look at it after this session, you're more than welcome to do so. So the educational transformation framework is woven into that rubric. We will, as you go through the incubator year, look at all of the segments under the pillars. So each of the boxes are called pillars: the green, the purple, the orange, and the blue. But that's split down into 4 sections for each pillar. And during the time that you'll spend being an incubator, we'll look at those areas. You'll have guided sessions from Microsoft. You'll get resources. But in the end, you need to be demonstrating via the criteria in the rubric that you have leadership and policy that's going to bring about transformation, where you're trying to address maybe the members of staff that are a little bit reluctant by technology, that are just going to wait for the others to go first. And sometimes it might be that your message isn't clear and that you've got a vision that you've formulated, but actually it hasn't permeated the whole school. And when the whole school, everybody, it doesn't matter who they are, site services, caretaker, could be lunchtime supervisors, whoever they are, if they all understand what you're trying to do and how you're going to get there, your transformation will be far more powerful, but it will also speed up at the same time. So alongside the rubric, there are certain commitments to transform that Microsoft wants to see. So one is that you're using that educational transformation framework on the left of this slide to guide your journey, but also that you continue to use it afterwards. They will also ask you to obtain certain criteria and qualifications from Microsoft. So they will say that they want 60% of the educators and leaders in your school, which mainly is a bulk of the staff, to have a Microsoft. It was an education centre, a Microsoft Education Centre MEC profile. It's now called Microsoft Learn. That transition across in the last few months, but they'll want 60% of those staff to have a profile on there. All you have to do is sign up, so it's not very painful. You could address that on an inset day as part of a focus if your commitment is to go through and become a showcase school. You'll then need to get 25% of your staff to be Microsoft educators. And when you sign up to Microsoft Learn, there's a course in there called Microsoft Educator. It will take a couple of hours, but then you're awarded that accreditation. You get a certificate and the badge, but you need 25% of the staff to get that. It's not as challenging as it sounds. And also turn it on outside of being an incubator mentor. We're also this global training partner, and regularly we run training sessions which are all around guiding people and supporting people to get the Microsoft Educator qualification. And if any of you want to sign up for that, all you have to do is go to the Turn It On website, which is www.turniton.co.uk/events, and you'll be able to go in and sign up to any of those events in there. And you'll also have to undertake the Microsoft Certified Educator exam, the MCE exam. That is more involved, and you do need to revise for that. And then what Microsoft does throughout the time that you're in incubator school, instead of having to pay for that, they offer vouchers, and then your staff can take those vouchers and they can then sit those exams to become an MCE. If you're a college, it's 10% of educators are 10% of your staff are Microsoft educators and certified Microsoft educators. They are two separate qualifications. Microsoft educator sits below Microsoft certified educator, so you would do the Microsoft educator first. Also in there, you need to have 3% of the educators in your school or college to become Microsoft innovative educators. That sits above Microsoft Educator, but below Microsoft Certified Educator. And that's a program where you need to create additional courses in the Microsoft Learn platform and then complete those. And again, Turn It On offers a program to support that. We kick off our program in January 23, and we'll guide you through how to become an MIEE. And that whole process is something that's required. They will be measured at the end, and you can't qualify to become a showcase school unless you've got those accreditations. You need to demonstrate that you're personalising learning. That's a mandate from the government in the UK anyway, but thinking about how you can use technology to not give more work to teachers, but to try and open up the learning resources that you're giving to pupils and students and make them far more accessible, and also give them the opportunity to shine to their full potential. We spoke about future ready skills at the beginning, and it's actively getting those 21st century learning design elements. And we're often doing that through a growth mindset, but many areas need to be shone through alongside the technology, such as instead of telling the pupils or the students you're working with which technology to use on a given day, you give them a choice. Well, we've used Office 365. I need you to present to this at the end of the week, and then they choose. So they might go off and choose Microsoft Sway. They might go off and choose more of a traditional PowerPoint. They might go off and choose other things. that are linked to Microsoft Office 365, but they choose the vehicle that best suits them to get the outcome and the learning that's desired by the teacher at the end. Also, those data decisions come across really clearly, that you're making valid decisions based on the data you're collecting. If you suddenly find out that actually you've got a strategy in your transformation plan to stop setting homework in paper form and use assignments in Teams, but when you look at the usage of Teams through the Office 365 Admin Center, you discover barely anyone's using assignments and teachers are spending endless amounts of their time chasing students that haven't turned their work in, then you need to go back and rethink, was it a training thing? Do they not understand how to use it? Is it that we're not getting our message through? Is it the teachers aren't engaged? Or is it the students aren't engaged? But all of that would be demonstrated by analysing the data you've got at your fingertips. And then lastly, it's about thinking of the different solutions that Microsoft offer you. So Microsoft will ask you to ensure that your school or college have 60% of your students and your staff or your teachers using Teams, and then 90% of students and teachers will use Office 365 for their day-to-day business. Now, if you are a school that's already using Office 365 or a college, you probably do that anyway. And then 60% of the devices inside your educational establishment should be Windows 10 or Windows 11. And usually, if you're going on that journey of becoming a showcase school, Microsoft accept, you're probably going to have some iPads sloshing around. You might even have some Chromebooks there as well. But that the majority of your devices, over half, should be Windows based. You can still quite successfully, though, access Office 365 apps or Teams from things like iPads or Chromebooks. So it's not that they can't be useful to you, but you still know that those other devices alongside. I've covered quite a bit there about requirements. Has anybody got any questions around that or anything they'd like to ask before I go into the pathway of how you get into becoming a showcase incubator? No? Okay, I'll continue on. So the application process itself, you need to visit a website from Microsoft, and I'll give you that link in just a little bit. But you decide you want to become a showcase school. Before you can become a showcase school, you become a showcase incubator. That can apply whether you're a new build school, whether you don't exist yet and you're still being built out of the ground, you can still apply. It also applies whether you're an existing school and you're established. It also is open to virtual schools, so you don't have to be bricks and mortar. You could have your students join you online, and actually they never ever come to a building. Once you've decided to put your application in, whichever way you go, it will be approved. You need to do that by showing that you've got a showcase school plan and you use the transformation guide that you're given, and all of that is in the application portal. Microsoft to decide that you meet the criteria to begin your journey, and then you will normally be given the chance to join a particular community where Microsoft to say, look, we've got regional providers such as Turn It On, they'll work with you, you can be allocated to them, and also there's another showcase school geographically close to you that's already qualified. It's worth approaching them, they'll give you the details of who to contact, and then they can act as a bit of a mentor for you as well at the same time. You then finally apply, you submit all your evidence to become a showcase school, a fully fledged showcase school, so no longer an incubator, and then hopefully you'll get the acceptance, and the acceptance will take you through and you'll become qualified. And as I said before, that qualification lasts for 12 months, and then you reapply, but the reapplication, because you're already doing it and you're working at that higher level on the rubric, there's not really a lot that you need to do to get back in again. It's not that onerous, and you'll already be working with other schools. You'll already be talking to them about what you're doing. You might be talking globally about things like that. You might have had an outreach program working with some primary schools if you're the secondary, or if you're the primary schools, you might be working with other primary schools. If you're a special needs school, which we've had 3 of those this year, you might be networking across the whole country. So there's lots of scope wherever you're coming from, whichever way you're approaching this. Microsoft are quite open and welcome lots of different types of educational establishments into this process. So on the next slide, you'll need to excuse the dates, but May to August is one of those, is the time frame on there. That date itself is movable, so it's open all the time to apply to be a showcase incubator. It's not a fixed window anymore, and that's changed fairly recently. If you decide to apply at the beginning of the academic year, it's likely you'll get assigned a partner such as Turn On, you get assigned another showcase school, and you can get started straight away. If you decide to apply halfway through the academic year, you can come and join everything that's going on, but the content that's being delivered will already be halfway through. Now, you can try and catch up because everything's recorded if you're working with somebody like us. But it's easier if you go from the beginning, particularly with talking with others in the community. So you might just spend those 6 months gathering ideas, refining your plans, getting ready to go again in the new academic year in the next September, and off you go. But you'll go through a series of events from Microsoft where you'll have hopefully some in-person events such as E2, which is a conference. You'll also have lots of virtual meets, and then alongside that, you've got the partner support at the same time. And the first half of the support from us focuses on you exposing yourself to the materials and getting to know them and building your vision, your roadmap of how you're going to get there, and getting the technology sorted that you're going to focus on with Office 365. And then you'll have another 6 months of your application, and it's typically 12 months that you're an incubator for, where you will just look at evidencing the impact and then refining your plan and spending time just working your way through the first year of your plan. Then you fill in your application form and away you go. So the steps themselves are pretty self-explanatory. Familiarize yourself with the transformation framework. Have a look at the rubric that we've given you already, and then think, do I want to apply? If you want to apply, you need to then nominate yourself. I will drop in the shortcut for the nominations now into the chat. So the nominations page is quite big, and it's used for other qualifications with Microsoft as well, such as the MIEE. Just popping that in the chat now. But what you need to do is when you go to that page, you need to go right the way through, have a quick read, find the section about halfway down that talks about the Showcase Incubator program, and then go to the bottom, and it's the big blue button in the bottom left hand corner which just says register now and sign in. So you register, you sign in, and you fill out your incubator application. Once your incubator application is successful, you'll be referred from Microsoft to Turn It On, and then you can get started. So it's not that complicated to get into the incubator program. They will just ask you what you're doing already, what your aspirations are, where you really want to be, and they'll ask you the sorts of technologies you're already using, purposes you're using them for, and if you've got any staff that already got qualifications from Microsoft, and all of that will be taken into consideration. Then you've got some prompts that you'll need to respond to, so you need to think about what education transformation you're undertaking today. You also need to think about the steps that you're going to take. So this does need to be a bit of a 3 to 5 year plan, which you may already have. If not, this will help you to formulate it. And sometimes the educational transformation framework bit can sit within the wider school transformation plan. Talk about what's the current block. Maybe it's budget. We all know that budgets are extremely tight. So therefore, getting those devices that you want to use in the classroom could be the problem. It might be that you've got aspirations to roll out a one-to-one program where every student in the school is going to have that, and you're looking at rental agreements with parents. It could be that you want it to be far more hands-on and you want to make more of the apps with the existing hardware you've got. Everyone is different, but you do what's right for your staff, your pupils and students, the parents that you have around you, the demographic of the area you're working in, and tell your story. What Microsoft wants to hear is your journey, your story, why it's important to you and the difference it's going to make. They don't want you to be something you aren't. They want you very much to be celebrating where you are and what you're doing and how you're going to be even better still. So the links that I've already given you are the links that are in this slide deck, but you're welcome to have a copy of this slide deck afterwards. And also the recording will be made available afterwards. The recording that will appear initially in the Teams meeting that you're in will be for Turn It On internal purposes only. And then our marketing team will edit it and they will then upload it back, and I'll put in a YouTube link here in the same chat. So keep an eye out for it. And then you can listen back to this or share it with somebody else if they weren't able to come today. So all the resources that you need are in the websites you've been given, and it's a matter of logging in and having a look at that application form. There are people to follow at Microsoft, so people like Mike Tholson or Jen King in the UK education team. Turn It On also tweet quite a lot about what we're doing, and if we are working with schools, we'll soon announce the Showcase Schools, Turn It On Showcase Schools that we've got through this year, and events that we're going to be launching with them as part of being a global training partner with Microsoft. But really at this point, it's for me to say, have you got any questions, which I'm sure you have, anything you want to ask? If you do want to give me any feedback about this session or any other sessions, you can simply hold your camera up to the screen, scan the QR code, and it will take you straight to the Microsoft form where you can fill in and leave your feedback for us. So really, it's over to you. Are there any questions, anything you'd like to know a little bit more about, anything you're not sure of? I'm here to help, and I'm more than happy to answer them for you.